All right, let's jump right into the wild world of fashion video. 1 second, you're scrolling and you see this grainy 15-second clip of a totally surreal bus-shaped handbag driving through Paris. And then the next, you hear about that same brand premiering a 60-minute art film at Cannes. It's a lot. It's exciting for sure, but it can also be pretty confusing. How does all of this stuff, all these moving images, actually fit together? And that really is the big question for today, isn't it? What on earth connects that raw, dopamine hit energy of a TikTok with the super polished, cinematic ambition of a feature film? I mean, they're both selling fashion, yeah, but they are playing by completely different rules. So what's the link? Well, it turns out they're not so different. They're just on opposite ends of the same really fascinating spectrum. So to make sense of all this, let's picture it as a spectrum. This is going to be our map. On one end, you've got that instant dopamine rush from social media, stuff designed for immediate impact. And way over on the other end, you have the slow, carefully crafted world of heritage and brand legacy. Let's break down what that actually means. Okay, so this whole spectrum basically breaks down into three main categories. First up, you've got micro videos. We're talking your TikToks, your Reels. They're super short, always under a minute, and their one and only goal is to get reach, to go viral. They're built for the algorithm. Then, kind of in the middle, you have your classic campaign film. This is usually a few minutes long, and it's all about setting a mood, delivering the concept for the new season. And finally, way at the other end is what we're calling brand cinema. Now, these can be feature-length documentaries or stunning short movies, and their goal is way bigger. It's about building long-term brand value, telling a real story, and creating a legacy that lasts. So you see, a brand's choice of film isn't just random. It's a really strategic decision that depends entirely on what they're trying to do. Are they trying to jump on a trend and just get in front of millions of eyeballs fast? That's virality and reach. Are they trying to define the whole aesthetic for their new collection? Well, that's mood and concept. Or are they trying to prove that their brand is a timeless cultural powerhouse? That's where you get legacy and brand value. See? Different goals mean you got to use totally different tools. Right, so since the goals are so different, it makes sense that the rules have to be different too. You just can't take a 10-minute movie, chop it down to 15 seconds, and expect it to work on TikTok. It's just not going to happen. Each format has its own unique playbook for how to tell a story, what it should look like, and how it grabs an audience. Let's look at the narrative rules for a sec. With short-form video, the most important part is the very first second. The hook, the surprise, the craziest visual, it has to happen at the 0-second mark, or you've lost them. They've already scrolled away. The story, if you can call it that, is usually non-linear and designed to loop perfectly. And, this is crucial, a trending sound often dictates the entire story. Now, long form is the complete opposite. It follows a classic story arc, a hero's journey, building emotion over time. Here, the story is king, and it's the story that tells the visuals what to do, not the other way around. And the look and feel are just as different. That vertical 9:16 format on your phone, it creates this real sense of intimacy. It feels raw, kind of lo-fi and authentic, like a friend is talking right to you, It breaks that fourth wall. But the horizontal 16:9 cinema frame, that creates distance, it creates aspiration, it's super polished, high fidelity, and it puts you, the viewer, in the position of an observer, watching this beautiful, almost untouchable world. So one is about feeling like you're part of it, and the other is about watching from afar. This quote right here from the absolute legend, photographer Nick Knight, is basically the origin story for the entire fashion film genre. He was the first person to really get it, to realize that a still photo, no matter how gorgeous, could never truly capture the soul of clothing. The physics of the fabric, the way it actually flows and drapes on a living, moving person. And that one idea, it changed everything. So with that idea in mind, let's take a quick trip back in time to see how we got from Nick Knight's revolutionary concept of moving photos to where we are today, an era where a brand like Saint Laurent basically runs its own movie studio and competes at major film festivals. It's been a wild ride. The timeline really breaks down into three neat decades. First, the 2000s. That was the pioneer era. You had Nick Knight's show studio treating video like this wild artistic experiment. Then came the 2010s, which was like the golden age. Digital platforms like Nowness popped up, creating a space for brands to commission these beautiful artistic short films. And that brings us to now, the 2020s, and we are deep in the cinematic era. Brands have literally become production houses, using film not just for marketing, but to elevate themselves into the world of high culture. Before we had these full-blown movies, there was this really crucial step in between, the cinematograph. Seriously, think of it as the ancestor of the boomerang. It's a still photograph where just one tiny detail, like the fringe on a handbag or a single strand of hair blowing in the wind, is caught in this hypnotic, endless loop. It was the first real motion editorial, and it forced your eye to lock onto that tiny movement, bringing a totally static image to life. And you can really see how mature the genre has become when you just look at the sheer diversity of artists working in it. You got directors like Gordon von Steiner, whose super polished rhythmic work for Prada is like the textbook example of a modern fashion film. Then you've got Glenn Lutchford, who pretty much single-handedly defined Gucci's entire retro cinematic vibe. And on the total opposite end of the spectrum, you have someone like Tyron Laban, who brings this raw, documentary-style cool to brands like Bottega Veneta. I mean, a brand's choice of director is now just as important as their choice of photographer. It says everything about who they want to be. Okay, so this brings us to the most important question of all. Why do these films even matter, right? Why would a brand spend millions of dollars on a film that doesn't just scream, buy this now? Well, the answer gets at the fundamental difference between selling a product and selling something way, way more powerful, a fantasy. It really just comes down to this. A TV commercial uses a hard sell. Its goal is sales, plain and simple. It's going to tell you the price, the features, and where you can buy it. A fashion film, on the other hand, is a soft sell. Its main goal is to create fascination. It doesn't sell you a coat. It sells you the attitude of the person wearing that coat. It sells a mood, a world, a fantasy that you want to be a part of. And at the end of the day, that's how luxury works. Which leads us to our final and kind of provocative question. With the unstoppable rise of short-form, algorithm-driven video, is the artistic, long-form fashion film a dying breed? Have 15-second clips actually killed the 5-minute movie? Believe me, this is a debate that is happening right now all over the industry. So what's the real answer? Is the fashion film dead? No, not even close. It just polarized. It split right down the middle into two very distinct, very powerful forms. On one side, you have the microvideos engineered for massive reach and going viral. And on the other, you have brand cinema, engineered for prestige, for depth, for cultural legacy. And today, brands need both to survive. They need one to grab your attention, and they need the other to prove that their attention is worth having in the first place.